Bugungi darsimizda Cambridge 11-kitobining test 2, passage 2 ni analizini ko'rib chiqamiz va bugungi darsimizda bu passageda analizini ko'rib savollarga javoblarni topishga harakat qilamiz va birinchi navbatda bu tekst nima haqidaligini bilishimiz va nimani o'qishimizni tushunish uchun title'ni o'qib olishimiz kerak va title What destroyed the civilization in Eastern Island. Eastern Islandda oralarda sivilizatsiyani nima buzib yuborgan yoki nima vayron qilgan degan mavzudagi tekstni o'qiymiz. Bu geografiya yoki tarix shu katta ehtimoli bor. Undan keyin esa savol turlarini ko'rishimiz va savol turlarini ko'rish orqali bizdan qanaqa skilllarimizni ishlatish talab qilinayotganligini ko'rishimiz kerak va bu qismda o'z ko'rganingizga matching headings. Bizda 2 ta, 4 ta, 6 ta, 7 ta savol bor, 9 ta variant bor. Demak, 2 ta variant keraksiz variant, juda ham yomon emas, yaxshi. 2 tagina variantda bo'lmasligi yaxshi. Keyingisida esa bizda Jared Diamond's view, demak Jared Diamond degan odamni qarashlari bo'yicha summary'ni belgilab olishimiz kerak one word only orqali. Undan keyin esa just multiple choice questions on what points Hunt and Lippert disagree with Diamond. Demak, uni disagree with Diamond ni topib olishimiz kerak bo'ladi. Xo'p, o'zingiz bilganingizdek, bu bilan shu bilan demak 3 xil savol turi bor ekan. O'zingiz bilganingizdek, masalan, matching headinglarni bajarishimiz uchun hamma paragrafni o'qib olishimiz kerak, tushunishimiz kerak, keyinchalik javoblarni belgilashimiz kerak. Va shu bilan bir vaziyatda agar boshqa savol turlari, masalan, Jared Diamond's point of view ni topib olsak yoki disagree with Diamond'larni topib olsak, birdaniga belgilab ketsak, bizga oson bo'ladi bu vazifani bajarishimiz. Chunki ko'pchilik o'quvchilar nima qilishadi? Paragraflarni belgilashadi. Masalan, 20-savolga tugagandan keyin paragraf G ni belgilab bo'lishgandan keyin esa jami o'sha summary completion yoki multiple choice savollarga o'tishadi va bu bilan qanaqadir effektivность yo'qoladi. Nimaga effektivность yo'qoladi? Tasavvur qiling, masalan, bu belgilasizda tushundingiz, o'qib oldingiz, lekin keyingi savolga javob berish uchun yana paragraf B ga qaytishingiz kerak. Agar o'sha keyingi savolga javob berishda paragraf B kerakligini tushunganingiz deydi, o'shani birdaniga bajarib ketganingizda kamida 2 minut, 3 minut yoki 4 minutgacha vaqtingizni tejab qolgan bo'lardi. Bu readingda juda ham katta vaqt hisoblanadi. Shuning uchun ham bu qismda alohida e'tiborli bo'lishingizni va kerakli qismlarni belgilab ketishingizni so'rab qolamiz. Keling, endi birgalikda bu qismni birgalikda bajarishga harakat qilamiz. Each island is known locally, home to several hundred ancient human statues. Maui, after this remote Pacific island was settled by Polynesians, remained isolated for centuries. Of the resources that went into account, which are 10 meters tall, came from the islands that when the Dutch explored land, they met a Stone Age culture. The mountains were covered with stone tools, then transported for many kilometers without the use of animals or wheels to massive stones platforms. The identity of Maori builders was in doubt until well into the 20th century. Thought cities were created by pre-Inca peoples from Peru, best-selling successor, stranded extraterrestrials. What the hell? Modern science, linguistic, archaeological evidence has identified proof that Maori were Polynesians, but not how they moved their creations. Local folklore maintains that statues walked, while researchers have tended to assume that ancestors dragged the statues somehow using ropes and logs. Bu ko'rganingizdek, bu qismda Rapanoy qanaqa joyligi va kimlar yashaganligi, Maori 100 ga yaqin statuyalarning kim tomonidan qurilganligi va qanaqa ravishda qurilganligi haqida ma'lumotlar berilgan. Evidence of innovative environment haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Undisputed answer to question about Maui. Undisputed answer haqida ma'lumot bormi? It's disputed. Undisputed haqida ma'lumot yo'q hozircha. Balki bordir. Future of the Maui studies haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Theory which supports a local belief haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Theory which supports haqida ma'lumot yo'q, chunki local belief qismida they moved, our researchers tend to assume that they're dragged. Tutilgan. Future of island haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Two opposing view about Rapanoy people haqida ma'lumot bo'lishi mumkin. Two opposing view yo'q, bu haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Destruction outside inhabitants control ma'lumot yo'q. How states made a situation worse haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Divination food resource haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Interesting. Hope. Identity was in doubt until well into 20th century. Has definitely proved. Or Polynesian. Demak, qismda linguistic, archaeological, genetic evidence has definitely proved that Maori builders were Polynesians. Demak, qismda undisputed answer bor ekan. Maoini kimni qurganligi haqida javob bor ekan. Undisputed javob bor. Bu 2 bo'lar ekan. Chunki bu manba Polynesianlar tomonidan qurilgan. Qanaqa qurilganligi ma'lumot yo'q, lekin bu aniq. uch tomoni o'shalar qurib ketganligi. Shuning uchun ham ikkini olishga qaror qildik. When Europeans arrived, Rapa Nui was grassland with only a few scrawny trees. And through research found pollen preserved in lake sediments, which proved the island had been covered in lush palm forests for thousands of years. Only after pollination arrived, those forests disappear. Jar diamond haqida ma'lumot bor. Demak, bu qismda summary completion qilishim mumkin. Villages, Rapa Nui people, descendants of Polynesian settlers, break their own environment. They had unfortunately settled on an extremely fragile island, dry, cool, and too remote to be properly fertilized by wind-blown volcanic ash. When the islanders cleared forests for firewood and farming, the forest didn't grow back as trees became scarce and they could no longer construct wooden canoes for fishing. They ate birds. Soil erosion decreased their crop yields. When European eras had descended into civil war and cannibalism, he maintains their collapse of their adult legend writes as the worst case scenarios for what may lie ahead of us in our own future. Demoqchimda Rapa Nuining qanaqa joy bo'lganligi va Jar Diamondda belgilari qarashlari belgilab ketilgan. O'z ko'rgandek Jar Diamond fikriga ko'ra, ular o'zini o'zi environmentini o'zi yo'qotgan ekan, o'zi fragile islandga kelib qolgan, lekin hamma daraxtlarni kesib tashlagan, fishing qilishga ehtimol qobiliyat qolmagandan keyin qushlarni yegan, crop yieldni decrease qilgan, soil erosion, keyin cannibalism, civil war bo'lgan. Bu Rapa Nuiga nima bo'lgani, bu bizani kelajagimizdagi worst case scenario deb aytgan. Evidence of innovative environment haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Buni chiqarib yubordik. Future of the Maui statues haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Theory which supports the local building haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Future of Israel haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Opposing views about ma'lumot yo'q. Destruction outside ma'lumot yo'q. How situation diminishing water resource ma'lumot bor. How situation made situation worse haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Demak, bu qismda na'in bo'ladi, chunki diminishing food resource bor. Diminishing food resource hozir tushuntirib beraman qayerda diminishing food resource borligini. Xo'p, o'z ko'rgandek. Another firewood farming uchun forestlarni kesib tashlagan, undan keyin didn't grow back, trees became scarce, kanoe qura olmagan fishing uchun, undan keyin qushlarni yevorgan, soil erosion bo'lgan, tuproqni yomonlashishi, crop yieldlarni yo'q qilgan, o'sha hosillarni, undan keyin civil war bilan kannibalizm boshlanib ketgan. Shuning uchun diminishing food resources bo'ladi bu qism. Undan keyingiga o'tib ketamiz. Lekin Jar Diamond viewlari borligi uchun Jar Diamond viewlarini belgilab ketganimiz yaxshiroq. Then destroys its forest, cutting down trees for fuel and clearing land for cutting down for fuel and clearing land for farming bo'ladi. Bu yoqda fermerlik uchun landni belgilab clear qilgan. Farming uchun landni clear qilgan ekan. Pollen proves that palm trees the grassland by the time Europeans arrived. When the islanders were no longer able to build, they needed to go fishing. For fishing, canoes, wooden canoes. Demak, o'shanda kanoe qura olmagan. Kanoeni qura olmagan for fishing. Keyin unaqa narsaga o'tgan. They began using the islands as a food resource. Birds, they ate birds. Food sifatida birdni ishlatgan. Birds. Qushlarni yegan. Diamonds also claims that Maui were built to show the people. Okay, bu haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Maui were built haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Buni topishga harakat qilamiz keyingi paragraflarda. Secret haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Xo'p, the Maui he thinks accelerated self-destruction. Xo'p, accelerated self-destruction bo'ldi, ma'lumot bor menda. Mana. How the statues made the situation worse. Qanaqa qilib statualar vaziyatni juda yomonlashtirgan. Bundan ham yomonlashtirgan sababli 8 olamiz javob sifatida. Chunki birinchi gapda yozib qo'yibdi. Self-destructionni accelerated, tezlashtirib olgan. Diamond interprets them as power displaced by rival chieftains who trapped on a remote island lacked other ways of asserting their dominance. They competed by building even bigger figures. Diamond thinks they laid the Maui on wooden sledges, hauled over log rails. It required both a lot of wood and a lot of people to feed the people. Even more land had to be cleared. When the wood was gone, civil war began. The islands began toppling the Maui, and none were standing. Wow! Mauilarni sindirib tashlash boshlabdi, hammasi yiqilib qolgan ekan. Okay. Xo'p, buni topdik, mana bu ma'lumotni topishimiz kerak endi. Diamond. Transporting studies need only a great number of people, but also great deal of wood bo'ladi. Odamlar va woodni talab qilgan demak. Shuni wood yozamiz. Wood talab qilgan. Bo'ldi. Summary completion bo'ldi. Tugadi, o'z nihoyasiga yetdi. Undan keyin o'zimizni multiple choice'da qo'shimcha anonni ham qilishimiz kerak bo'ladi endi. Mana bu matching heading qilishimiz kerak bo'ladi. Archaeologist guy Hunt and Lipo. Demak, bu qismda mana multiple choice'ga savol topar ekanmiz. Disagree. Agrees that lots of its large forests it was ecological catastrophe. They believe the islands themselves weren't to blame. Demak, bu qismda ular aybdor bo'lmagan. And tomorrow certainly weren't. Archaeological explorations indicate that went to heroic efforts to protect the resource from their wild lashes in fertile fields. They built thousands of circular stone windbreaks and gardened inside them and used broken volcanic rocks to keep the soil moist. In short, argued the prehistoric Rapani were pioneers of sustainable farming. Bu vaqtimda o'zgargancha Hunt bilan Liponi anolari bor, qarashlari bor. O'sha forestlarning yo'q bo'lib ketishi ekologik katastrofa bo'lganligini ko'rsatgan, lekin bunga islanderlarning o'zi aybdor bo'lmagan degan, lekin bu qismda bu resurslarni protect qilish uchun o'zlari juda ham katta effort qilgan degan, sustainable farmingni birinchilaridan bo'lgan degan. Evidence of innovative farming management. Innovative environment management practices haqida ma'lumot bor, chunki mana pioneers of sustainable farming haqida ma'lumot bor. Shuning uchun ham birni option sifatida olaman o'zimga. Keyingisiga o'tamiz. Future of Maui structure. Xo'p, 8 ham ishlatdik. Future of Maui structure haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Zero which supports local belief haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Future of island haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Opposing view about Rapani people haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Hozircha destruction outside inhabitants control haqida menimcha bu ham bo'lishi mumkin. Shuning uchun ham yozib qo'yaman. Keyinchalik agar bo'lmaydigan bo'lsa, chiqarib qo'yishim mumkin. No problem with that. Xo'p, bo'ldi. Hozircha shu. Javob bor bu qismda. Disagree. The period when the Maui were created. Xo'p, bu haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Maui were transported ma'lumot yo'q. Impact of the Maui on Rapani society haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Ma'lumot bor. How the Maui were carved ma'lumot yo'q. Origins of people who made the Maui haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Demak, impact bor, chunki masalan diamond bular asosiy muammo bo'ladigan bo'lsa, Hunt and Lipo agree qilmaydi u bilan. Hunt and Lipo aytadi, yo'q, bular umuman necham deydi-ku, o'sha sabab bo'lmagan unga. O'sha uchun ham bo'lmagan. Bir minut gaplashaylik. Kesib ham bo'ladi, kesib tashlamasangiz ham bo'ladi, do'stlar. Kesmasangiz ham bo'ladi, mana farq yo'q, do'stlar. Xo'p, bo'ldi. Bittasini topdik. Mana impact of Rapani society o'z ko'rganingizda, masalan, Diamond aytgan, bu accelerate qilgan, yomonlashtirib yuborgan degan, Hunt and Lipo aytgan, u hech narsa qilmagan. Ular prosta umuman ahamiyati yo'q degan. Hunt and Lipo content Maui building was an activity that helped keep peace between islanders. Seriously, keep peace between islanders. They also believed that moving the Maui required few people and no wood because they were walked upright. What? On the issue, Hunt and Lipo says archaeological evidence backs up Rapani folklore. Here, archaeological evidence Rapani folklore. Recent experiments indicate that as few as 18 people could, with 3 strong ropes and a bit of practice, easily maneuver Maui replica a few hundred meters. The figure's fat bellies tilted them forward, and D-shaped base allowed handles to roll and rock them side to side. O'z ko'ringizga Hunt and Liponi qancha odam ketgani haqida ma'lumotlari bor. Chunki folklordagi ma'lumotlar ham arxeologik evidence ham ko'rsatadi degan, qanaqa qilib uni sekin osonlik bilan move qilishni o'rgatgan. Demak, period no, how Maui were transported, yes. B bilan C bo'lar ekanda javob demak qismda. Bo'ldi, tamom. Transport mana qismda tushuntirgan transportatsiyasini. Moving mana transportatsiyani tushuntirgan. Bo'ldi, shu bilan multiple choice savollarimiz bilan tugadi. Ananga o'tamiz, matchingga o'tamiz. Matchingda endi evidence of environmental practice o'qib tugatdik. Future haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Theory bor, bu bor. Chunki mana theory which supports local belief, mana archaeological evidence it supports backs up local folklore. Archaeological evidence degani theory degani bu qismda, backs up degani support degani, uni oldidagi Rapani folklore bu Rapani people'ning belieflari degani. Shuning uchun ham buni to'g'ri qilamiz. Xo'p, keyingisi. 5 future of islander yo'q, haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Opposing view haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Destruction outside haqida ma'lumot yo'q bu yerda. Keyingisiga o'tamiz. Moreover, Hunt and Lipo convinced that settlers were not wholly responsible for the loss of island trees. finds nuts from the extinct island sponge of tiny growths made by teeth of Polynesian rats. Oh. The rats arrived along with the settlers, and in just a few years, Handel calculated they would have overrun the island. They would have prevented the receding of the slow-growing palm trees, thereby doomed Rapa Nui forests. Even without the settlers' campaign of deforestation, no doubt the rats ate birds, eggs too. Handel also see no evidence that number of civilization collapsed when the palm forest did. They think its population grew rapidly and then remained more or less stable until the arrival of Europeans, who introduced deadly diseases, seriously, to which ants had no immunity. Slave traders decimated the population, which shriveled to 111 people by 1877. O'z ko'rganingizdek, bu qismda Handel islanddagi muammolarga odamlarni responsible bo'lmaganligi haqida gapirgan, buni ratlar qilganligi haqida gapirgan. Ratlar eglanib yegan degan, undan keyin yaxshi turgan, yevropaliklar uni olib kelgandan keyin kasalliklarni olib kelgandan keyin uxlagan degan. Future of haqida ma'lumot yo'q, future haqida ma'lumot yo'q, to'pazim ma'lumot yo'q. Bu qismda people haqida destruction outside human control haqida ma'lumot bor, chunki ratlar haqida ma'lumot berilgan. Infectious disease haqida ma'lumot bor deymi, bu qismda 7 ni o'chirib tashlaymiz, bu qismga 7 ni yozib qo'yamiz. 7 kengisi. Okay. Hop. Handel vision, therefore, is one of the island's populated peaceful and ingenious Maori builders, careful stewards of the land rather than by reckless destroyers of ruining their own environment. Dunyosida different accountlar bor, mana different accountlar bor, chunki Lipo bilan Hunt aytibdi, bular peaceful, ingenious Maori builders, stewards of land. Ano aytadi, Diamond aytadi, reckless destroyers ruining their own environment. Other than a case of every failure, it's an unlike story of success. Surely some valuable lessons which would blah 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 blah. Bo'ldi. Buni o'tirmaydi, olib qolamiz. Shu bilan bugungi darsimiz o'z nihoyasiga yetadi. Hamma savollarga javoblar sizlarga tushunarli bo'ldi degan umiddaman. Agar savollar tushunarli bo'lmagan bo'lsa, kommentarda qoldirishingiz mumkin. Bu mavzuni qaytadan olishga harakat qilamiz. Shu bilan sizlarni keyingi darslarda ko'rishguncha xayr, guys, bye bye.